You are listening to Live Free with Rebecca Packard. With this podcast, Rebecca will help spiritual entrepreneurs and mompreneurs experience emotional freedom so that they can create calm and balance in all areas of their life. If you're ready to release your emotional baggage, trauma, and that constant feeling of overwhelm, then you are in the right place. Your journey starts now. Here's your host, Rebecca Packard.
Hi, welcome back. It's Rebecca Packard, and I'm so glad for you to be joining us today. I'm so excited. You have heard us talk multiple times about the different places we're showing up and the different communities that we're participating in. And today, we have Kornelia Stephanie here, and she is wonderful, and we're showing up in her community. And we're going to talk more about that. You'll get the link, you'll get the knowledge, you'll know where to go and everything. But we're really excited because she's bringing together a really fantastic group of people that are helping to support people mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually in all the different ways. And so we are going to be talking about those different things, but we're going to be talking about real life. And like we do in every episode, you guys, you're here weekly, and we're going to talk about what it takes to run multiple businesses, multiple communities, be the support staff for multiple different clients, and show up in a bigger world vision. And Kornelia really has that. She really has it down. She's really amazing in how she's keeping the balance of those things. And you're going to be a little surprised at how she keeps her balance in some of those things. And you might even question, like, really, does that work? And it really does, because welcome, Kornelia.
Yay. So nice to see you again, Rebecca. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this experience with you.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you here. We've had so many lovely conversations and growing in the space that you are sharing in a lovely group of really amazing human beings that are showing up to support the world at probably one of its most pivotal growing spaces. But I am really excited to have this conversation with you because I know it's going to go a lot of different ways, because we always have great chats, and we finally were like, let's record one, which is so great. But because I know you, but other people don't know you. So I'd like you to take a minute and just introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about yourself.
So this is always such an interesting thing when we introduce ourselves to the world, right? When we introduce ourselves to new people, because I don't know about you, but when it comes to labels, and, it's like, because we do so many things. So I'm a business leader. I'm a community builder. I'm a co-creator of Heaven on Earth. I'm a podcaster. I'm the creator of the Kornelia Stephanie Media Group. I'm the founder of the KS Media Group app. There are so many things that we do. I'm a retreat leader. I mean, I do so many different things that how do you put all of that into this expression right now? Really, when it comes down to who am I am that I am. That is who I am. And I am that I am. And that is who I'm showing up as. And I do all of these different things, right? So does that help?
It absolutely does. And I love that you say it that way, because there's a big thing going around of focus, hone it in, do one thing. Well, first of all, nobody does just one thing. Like, it's impossible to do one thing. Also, when you look at some of the greats, you look at the Rockefellers, you look at the Eisenhowers and the Roosevelts, and like all these different groups of families that keep being pushed to the forefront of, like, this is the foundation of the industrial age. This is the space of how America unfolded to become America. You look at those men and women that were in those spaces, and none of them did just one thing. Because if they had, would not be who they are today. They were philanthropists. They were laying railroad tracks. They were building buildings. And like, when we think of ourselves, and a lot of the times this comes down to, well, those were men and we are women, and there's a difference. And there is no difference, ladies and gentlemen, because I know there are men and women both alike on this podcast, even though a majority of our audience is women. There's no difference. We are all here with so many gifts and so many talents and so many passions and so many purposes, that showing up as the best version of you is mixing those all together like a beautiful confetti, right?
That's it. That's it. And, narrowing it down to just that one thing is really holding yourself back. And who are the people that are saying that you should do it this way? Because really what it is that you should do is do it your way.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's where the least amount of resistance is also, right? We talk about flow. We talk about energy. We talk about creating our own resistances to things. And when we show up and we open that door of, well, maybe you're going to meet somebody that's going to help you with one aspect of your passion, but they're in the other area, in the other arena of a different passion that you're holding, and these crisscross and they connect, and one feeds the other because you get into a different mindset, you get into a different rhythm, you get into a different flow when you're doing one of your passions versus the other. So all of them make up you, all of them, every one of them. But I love that you are so forefront in sharing that you do so many things, because it is something that a lot of people will go, well, I'm just a writer. No, you're not. There's like 87,000 parts to you.
Right.
You're all the things. You're all these wonderful things. Be honored to share those things, because all of them are gifts to you, and they're gifts to the other people that you touch lives with. Right?
So I know that, a lot of your audience, they are moms, they are parents, they are doing so many different things. And to be able to acknowledge how you spend your time, what it is that you're doing, and that you're honoring all of those things in you as well, because it's requiring your energy. What are the things that you love doing? And what are the things that you show up for every single day? Whether you're an entrepreneur, you're showing up for your business, you're writing in your business, you're creating content in your business, you're podcasting in your business, you're marketing in your business, you've got a relationship over here, you've got children over here, you're doing life. And how are you doing all of those things in life that is the most authentic version of you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kornelia, in that space, because we're all doing the thing, how are you finding balance? How are you keeping that balanced and that all the plates spinning, right?
Yeah, well, I feel like, when I look back at my life and I look at all of the things that have gotten me, all the jobs I've had, all the things that I've done that were natural for me to do, that's one thing. But I also see that everything was a preparation to get me to this point in my life now. So all the experiences, all the jobs, everything that I've done. And so here I am now, and I'm spinning a lot of plates. And that is something that I naturally do. I'm really good at spinning a lot of plates, where most people with all the plates I'm spinning would probably stress people out. It's like, oh, that's too many things. It's too overwhelming. That's too much, for them. Where for me, it's natural for me to spin. Oh, get this one going over here. It's spinning. Now that's up there. Now I'm getting this one going. That's spinning. Now I'm over here getting this one going. And I'm able to do all of these things because of my daily practice. Really, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to my daily practice, how I take care of myself, how I love myself, how I honor myself, how I take care of my emotional body, my mental body, my spiritual body, my physical body. All of those working together in harmony. That is the thing. And each day I begin with my daily practice in that way. So taking really good care of myself. And, I know that you are an emotion coach, right, Rebecca?
Yeah.
So you know that the emotional piece is a big piece of it, that if you're not feeling emotionally good, then that is going to dictate how you respond to the things that are happening in your life. So part of our emotional health and part of our emotional well-being and healing, first we have to, again, heal all those triggers and those wounds from our past, from our life, right? And bring our emotions back into neutrality. And that is the thing. And I've been doing this emotional healing work. I was just looking at a blog I wrote in 2012, just this morning. It's called You, Me, and Oneness. And in that blog, I was talking about how important it is for us to feel our emotions and to really be courageous to allow ourselves to dive deep into the feeling and feel whatever is present, not push it away, not suppress it, not make it wrong or bad, but really to feel our humanity. So I've been doing this work for a long time. And while I'm helping others also heal their emotional self, through their own experience, that is one of the ways, is making sure that I am in my center, that I'm in my peace, and then bring that self to how I create my day.
Yeah. It's one of those things where so many people are being encouraged to buck up, be strong, push down your emotions. If you're too angry, push it down. If you're too sad, push it down. Don't feel that. Or, oh, you can't be angry. That's negative. You can't do that. Like, don't do that. It'll manifest the wrong thing. But I think that if we are in the space of really being honest with ourselves, that if we don't allow ourselves to feel all our human emotions and to process our human emotions, it's that when we hold on to them, that then we're going to manifest the negativity that people talk about. And we're going to hold on to that, and it's going to cause us to have imbalances, and it's going to cause us to not feel good, and it's going to cause us to keep into that prolonged aspect of what those emotions share with us, which is seeing things in a negative space or seeing things in a different way than what we're used to or from a different perspective. I love that you have a practice that is outside of what other people participate in. So we're going to go right to that of in the space of every day, what is one of your never miss emotional balance tools?
Well, always checking in to see how I'm feeling. How am I feeling? What is it that needs to be said? How am I feeling? So it's basically like someone being curious about how I'm feeling, not because I'm sick, but because I want to know how I'm feeling and what is there that needs to be said. Sometimes there is anger, sometimes there is sadness, sometimes there's fear, whatever the feelings are, but I create the space for myself. Hey, babe, how are you feeling? What's up? What needs to be said today? And so this is a practice of mine that I've been doing for years and years and years. And it is a space that is really welcome because all of those feelings are welcome here, not to be suppressed down, numbed down, dumbed down, or ignored, but liberated, because they're feelings. And feelings, it doesn't mean that how I'm feeling in the moment, that's going to be how I'm going to feel at the end of the day, especially not if I give myself the space to be able to feel and be curious about how I'm feeling. I'm also not expecting anyone else to come in and ask me that question or come in and try to make me feel better or do something so that I would feel better, because it's my responsibility how I feel. And so I have to be the one that has to tend to those feelings and be curious about it and welcome whatever is there.
Yeah. And that's also pivotal. Guys, we are responsible for our own emotional state, not somebody else. It's not our coworker. It's not the guy on the highway that went flying by that we threw the hello at. Like, it's us. When you're angry, it's you. What's the trigger in you? Why are you getting so upset over something? Why are you so sad over something? And asking yourself these questions can be so powerful, and giving yourself that sacred moment every day to say, hey, how are you feeling today? What's going on for you? How are you feeling? How are you showing up in today? How can we help us and ourselves show up today in a better version? And giving yourself the opportunity to unwrap that. Really, it's unwrapping it, because a lot of people just blindly trudge through the day of like, I'm just gonna slap a smile on, it's gonna be fine. And it just doesn't work like that. I love that you say that, like, letting out your anger is one of your number one things, is like letting out your anger. And I think that that's a conversation that we really should like dive deeper into, because anger is one of those things. It scares people. It's not pretty. And in a social world, there's a lot of people that are flinging anger all over the place. We see it online all the time. And I think that there are ways that we can let our anger out that are non-triggering to other people, and that we can take responsibility for those emotions. And both of you may have wrote a book on that now.
I did write a book on that, on anger. And, you know, a lot of people, when I published this book in 2015, and when I was talking to people about anger, especially in the spiritual communities, people that were, you know, in their spiritual evolution, they were like, oh, I don't need that book. I don't have any anger. I don't need that. Oh, that's for my friend, or you could give that to my son, or you could give that to somebody else. And people were like, I don't have any anger. And that was back then in 2015, right? And I can't imagine a person alive today that isn't angry or pissed off about something that is unfolding in the world, right? And unless you really embrace anger and know that anger is a raw human emotion, that it is part of our humanity. And when we use our anger to liberate ourselves, to move beyond what we're angry about, to really dive deep into like what's underneath that anger. Because I found that when I get triggered and when I'm angry about something, there is something underneath there that is waiting to be heard. There's a voice that is waiting to be heard. And most of the time, the voice is something like this: I'm really angry and pissed off right now because I feel ignored, or I feel stepped over, or I feel abandoned, or I feel like I'm not valued, or I feel like they don't care, or I feel like whatever that is, or I feel betrayed, whatever the energy is, but I'm angry about that. And so that is the first step, is to embracing our anger and being curious to find out what's underneath. Because when we go underneath, that's where the gold is. So actually, when we can look at anger and we can see that anger is actually our liberator to truth and freedom, because when you go underneath it, you're going to be curious to find out what has been buried there, because now the being is upset and angry, and this now needs to come out. This now needs to come out. But the key with the anger is not to, bully or project it out angrily onto other people, or take your fist and hit someone, or pick up a gun and shoot someone. That's not what the anger is for. The anger is for you alone to realize and accept that right now a raw emotion is being triggered in you, and you're angry, and what's underneath. So when we're around other people, or someone triggers this for you, or an event triggers this, or a person triggers this, it is never about any of those things. It is about you coming back, what's underneath, and then working that out within yourself, so that then when you come back to the people, to the event, or to the person, that you have released that anger now, because I'm going to talk about that. You've released that anger, but now you're coming back from a place of empowerment and purpose and courage, because now you're going to speak to it, not with the charge of the hot coal of what the anger was really all about. Right, Rebecca?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something we see over and over again. And it's also in our genetic makeup, depending on whether you are a fighter, and when you trigger your fight or flight response, there's always something underneath that. Always. And when we look at that, I know that when you talk about people who say, oh, well, I never get angry. I'm like, no, you shut off. That's your fight or flight response is to freeze. You don't have an outward expression of your anger, but that doesn't mean that you're not feeling it, that you're not triggered. It's just being able to read which space are you. Do you run? Do you stop? Or do you fight?
Yeah.
Because that is going to change how your emotional expression takes place in your life and the conversation that you're going to have with the world around you. So are you finding yourself just sitting on the couch going, oh my God, I can't function, like I can't move? Well, what's happening? What's your emotional state? Are you angry about something? Are you sad about something? What's going on? Because there's always, like you said, there's always something beneath that. So a lot of the times, knowing what is your outward expression of anger is more important also than actually figuring out, like, okay, I watched that show, now I'm angry, or I watched the news and now I'm angry. Like, okay, well, what's next for you? And it's always a personal responsibility situation, isn't it? We have a lot of people who say, well, that made me so angry. Well, you were going to get angry either way, but what was it that was in you that got triggered? What are you carrying that needed to be seen and acknowledged?
I have a story to share that I wrote when I was in the middle of writing my book, Peace, the Flip Side to Anger, how I used my emotions to heal my body and my life, and how you can too. People can get this book on Amazon. It's like a workbook. In the back of the book, it has a 21-day practice to really help you release some of the anger and get in contact with your emotions. And then the first part of the book, I talk about the different things on how I used peace, to how I discovered peace, but that was the flip side to anger. That I can't be an angry peace activist out here in the world, standing there with a sign, but I don't know how to access my own inner anger. So I had to really learn how to get in touch with my own inner anger, and then learn how to process and release that anger. And then I can come back and stand there as a peace activist with my sign, because now I'm at peace. But I can't be an angry peace activist, because that wouldn't be authentic to who I am and who I want to be in the world. So, but I want to tell you the story about when I wrote that book. I was in the discovery of like learning about like what causes war, and why do people fight, and why do we still have war on this planet, and why do we still have so much violence, and what is this about? So I'm an experiential student, and I dive deep into experiences in order to understand them. And then I write about it, I teach about it, I talk about it in this way. And that is how I become my own authority through the experience, right? As an experiential student of life, if you will. So I want peace in the world. That's what I want. I said, I'm the co-creator of heaven on earth, and I want peace on earth. Well, how do we have peace on earth if we still have so much war and violence going on? But I first had to discover the war and violence within myself, where I still felt like a victim, where I still felt separate, where I still felt powerless, because underneath the anger, there's always a powerlessness. I feel like I can't do something about this. I can't communicate something. I can't do something. So I'm angry. And then I'm walking around angry. That's not what I want. So in order for me to experience how to do this, I had, at the time, I was writing this book, and I had this house. And in this house, I had it was myself living there, and there was a roommate. I had a roommate, and she was a massage therapist. We had a beautiful, peaceful sanctuary in our house, and everything was great, right? It was a really big house, and it was awesome. And I had more rooms in that house to rent out. So I decided that I was going to rent out a room in that house to another person. So now another person was coming in. So it was going to be a man, just happened to be a man. And so I did all the background checks on him. We did all the things. We had the wonderful conversations. He passed all the things got passed, and then he moved in. And so right after he moved in, energetically, vibrationally, like within the next 24 to 48 hours, both my roommate and myself felt the vibrational change in the house with the energy that was now present. Okay, so she came to me. I'm the landlord of the house. So she came to me and she said, Kornelia, I'm just not feeling safe here with this guy. I'm not feeling safe. I'm not feeling it. And I was feeling the same way. I was feeling that way too. So now I have this strange energy in my peaceful sanctuary of a house, right, where we practice, and it's peace and massage and gardens and all this fabulousness. And so I realized, oh my gosh, this really changed everything. So I decided that I was going to ask him to move out. Like within 48 hours from moving in, I'm going to ask him to move out, right? So I ran into him in the kitchen. And he's 6 foot something. I'm 5'1". And I walk up to him and I looked up at him and I said, you know what, Ken, I'm really sorry, but this is not going to work out. You're going to have to move out. I'm really sorry, but it's not going to work out. You're going to have to move out. He looked down at me and he said, you can't make me. So all of a sudden, I'm in an experience now. I'm in the process of writing this book, and I'm in an experience where all of a sudden 1,000 bullets went off inside my body. And I'm feeling like triggered beyond what I can even say, because my body's shaking. I'm shaking and everything is shaking. And at the same time, I had this higher awareness. Pay attention to what, pay attention. And so I looked up at him, and the only thing that I could do at that moment is I looked up at him and I said, we're going to see about that. Okay. And then I walked away. Because now he pretty much activated my anger inside my house, my body, my house, my physical house. He activated me. And right now I have to go and discover what's underneath all of that, right? So I go to the back end of my house and I go into my space, and then I'm just like, I am enraged. Because I'm like going, what is that? Oh my God. And I'm so angry, and I am enraged because I feel powerless. There's this bully in my house, and he says I can't make him move out. And how does that make me as a woman feel right now, and how angry I feel, and all of that. So what do I do in order to release that anger? Is one of my practices today that I like to use is I get a rock, I take a hammer, and I just beat that rock, or I just get it out of my body, because the anger is a hot coal inside the body that is burning up, and it needs to come out. It needs to come out of the body. So that's the reason why when people get in fist fights, because they're angry, because right away, what do? Boom. They do this because they're angry, and the anger has to move out. Once they remove the anger and it gets out, that anger is gone. And then you can ask, okay, so this is what I did. I released the anger. I got it out of my body. Now I was exhausted. Now I was exhausted because I'm just like, oh my God, right? And so working with the power of emotions, the next day I came back and I sat down with myself and I said, okay, now that you got your anger out, now what do you want? And I said, I want him out. But I said, I want him out, Rebecca, without the charge of the emotion, because now I'm not angry anymore. I'm just clear. Right. And I'm in my power, because in the anger, I felt powerless to do anything. But because I went deeper and I was willing to get the anger out and look beneath it, I feel powerless with this man in my house, and he's gonna, and whatever, and whatever, and whatever. So I want him out. And then I said, okay, let's go try this again. So then I go back out into the kitchen, which is where he was. And I looked at him and I walked in with purpose and in my power without the anger. And I looked at him and I go, Ken, you are going to have to move out. And suddenly the bully met his match, because suddenly he became scared of me. And suddenly he said, well, you're going to have to give me back all of my money, and you're going to have to whatever. And I'm like, yep, this Saturday, you have until this Saturday, and this is what's going to happen. So nothing really happened. Nothing really changed other than I let my anger out in my own way without projecting onto him, because I could have called him all kinds of names. I could have called the police. I could have done all kinds of things. But because I'm in an experiment, I did this to learn how to do this. And so then now I'm standing up to this 6 foot something guy. I'm still 5'1", but I don't have the powerlessness and the anger inside of me anymore. Just very clear, confident that, no, you're moving, buddy. You're moving out. And so that Saturday, he moved out and he got back all of his money, and I claimed my power back. And so that's really what that experience was about. The other thing I had done during that week while he was still there, I had my roommate's locks changed on her door so that she felt safer. I did the same thing. And then, of course, I called in my unseen friends to support us in this, right? And yeah, but that's the story, Rebecca.
Yeah, and when you are in a situation like this, the key thing, and you heard Kornelia say it, she shifted her silent vibrational conversation when she felt that she was taken out of her power. It got real. She looked at the bigger picture of where did that anger come from? What was that anger about? She was feeling powerless. She was feeling betrayed. She was feeling not safe in her environment. And immediately, once she allowed herself to let that out however she needed to, which was smashing a brick, you shifted that vibration, you shifted the conversation, you took and you aligned yourself in a space of, instead of being in confusion, in rage, in anger, in scarcity, in fear, in betrayal, became empowered, focused, enlightened, and aligned. There's no reckoning with that. You can't come up against that, because he's just going, I'll do what I want. And no one's probably ever come to him and been like, yeah, I actually don't care what you think you want. This is what's going to happen. And when you do that from a place of alignment, when you do that from a place of focus, and you've changed the vibrational conversation of your silent vibrational frequency in the room, in your space, in the house, in your person, in your being, it's everything. It's everything right there.
Can you imagine if all the women claim their power when they get angry, when they get angry, that they actually feel like, oh, good, I'm pissed off. Let me go alchemize that. Let me go and take care of that. Come back and go. And because anger is a wonderful creative fuel. It's fire. It's wonderful when we use our anger to get shit done and do things, right? But not from a place of victimhood or powerlessness, but that you're actually using your anger to catalyze yourself and to alchemize yourself and to move into a more truthful way that is, like you said, in alignment. And what if all the ladies, what if all the women in the world would use their anger as creative fuel instead of as a way to walk around and be angry about whatever it is that you're angry about, and then you're drawing more of those experiences to you because you're walking around angry and you're wondering, why am I always attracting these kinds of people?
Right, because it's a magnet, because that's what your vibrational frequency is putting out there. And that, I think, is really, really a pivotal space, really, Kornelia, in the space of, if more people took and empowered themselves through shifting that energy, through changing that conversation, and really dug into the space of their emotional space, what that looks like in the space of victimhood, in the space of feeling disempowered and betrayed and in fear mode, so many more things would get done. But what it also does is it shifts patterns, it shifts habits, it shifts what the next move is forward, but it also shifts the direction of where you're going. And so if, like you said, if more women did this, if more mothers chose to empower themselves this way, you would shift the conversation around so many different topics.
Yeah.
Sexual abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, alcoholism, addiction. It would change the conversation throughout history of those things, because those are also the key areas where most women will say, well, I am powerless to this because it's something outside of me. You are not powerless to it, any of it, if you can dig within yourself and have that scary conversation and change your vibration frequency in the world and shut it down. You literally take, and in the space of fire, when you talk about fire, and I always go to fire because it's easy for people to imagine this, there's always three elements. And in the space of emotions, we see emotions, especially anger, as fire. And when we have fire, we need three things. We need fuel, we need oxygen, and we need source. And if you can smother one of those, you can put the fire out. And in the same space of in emotions, we need the person, we need the situation, and then we have the anger. Well, in some of those, you can't take the situation out, and you're always the person. But if you can get to the bottom of where that emotion is, if you can target and be in the space of where that emotion is, and you can heal what is underneath that emotion and acknowledge it. And a lot of times when healing, people think, oh, I need to do all these things. I need to light a candle. I need to do this, I need to journal. I need to make it take years. I need to talk it out. If you can see it, you can look at it, and you can forgive it, and you can hold it and say, that sucked, but I release you. Then you can neutralize that energy, and that's snuffing it out. It's putting the fire out. You've taken one of the three elements that caused it to need to be alive, to be it continuing to rage within you. You've snuffed it out, and you've taken it away, and you can show up in the situation as the person without the triggers, without the fire. And you can see things from a different perspective, which means you can move forward in a different way, which means you can change the direction that you're moving, and which means you can change the direction that your family is moving.
Yeah.
So
it's a wonderful example for a woman in her power as a mother, when she's fully engaged with her emotions and she's able to use her emotions to liberate herself, and then also teach your kids on how to use their emotions to liberate themselves, not to harm another person, not to project out onto another person, but literally, whatever is coming up for you is, like you said, process those emotions and use those emotions to liberate yourselves, because we all have them. And a lot of us right now, things are moving pretty quick. So, back in the day when I was doing this work, back then, things are a lot more dense than they are today. We have a lot more light on this planet, a lot more people in their power, a lot more people in their light holding, beautiful frequencies and vibrations. And so things are moving a lot faster anyways right now. So it doesn't have to take long. It doesn't have to take long. Like I said, you can change the way that you feel from the morning. By noon, you could be liberated and in a totally on a totally different trajectory timeline than you were when you were investigating in the morning how you were feeling. That's why that daily practice is so important every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you say that. Every day, you guys, every day we talk about these different things. It's not about sitting down on some space and doing something for 2, 3, 4 hours once a month. Every single day, take a bite. We've all read it. What is it? Eat the frog. And the fastest way to get through an elephant is one bite at a time. Like, we've all read all of these books. We've like, if you're in this community, if you're listening, you've read all the books, you've been on the roller coaster with Darren Hardy, you've done the things. We've shown up in that space, but every single one of them goes back to the exact same thing, and Kornelia is restating it again. Small, consistent, attainable habits and practices is what gets you to where you want to go. Not belittling yourself because you missed a day. It's jumping back on it tomorrow for 2 minutes. Not going, well, I went on vacation and I lost it. Okay, cool. Whatever. Tomorrow, hop back on it 2 minutes. 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there. 3 minutes there, 3 minutes there. You don't have to sit down and meditate for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
5 minutes. You got 5 minutes, you got 2 minutes, you got 1 minute. 1 minute meditations. They have actually done studies now where a 2 minute meditation is just as equivalent as a 45-minute meditation. So yeah. The excuses are no more. Embrace the 1 or 2 moments that you have throughout your day until you can add another minute, till you feel good adding another minute. And you might not be able to see that in the moment, and you might not be able to see that at the beginning of your practice, but you will evolve your practice and you'll realize how powerful that is in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years. And sometimes you do get to a point where you're like, okay, and you drop a whole practice and you go, well, but you'll pick up a new practice, and that's what you need at that time and at that moment. So also recognize that you don't need to feel guilt about letting go of a practice to start a new practice. Maybe one practice it's gone its purpose for you. You've moved through the whole space with that. And then you move into a new practice. But I think in the space of emotions, we should all be practicing some type of emotional space and emotional acknowledgement every single day, because we're humans and we process thousands of them daily. In your general practices, you also talk about how hiking and journaling and writing letters to yourself.
Yeah.
Those are things that you find to be helpful in a day-to-day practice. You guys, these are lovely practices. In hiking, many people say that they touch base with nature and it's easy to clear their heads and have those open conversations. I'm guessing you feel that way too.
Yeah, one of my practices is I'm really selfish. I go out in the morning, like very early, like at 5 or 5:30 in the morning. And I go out so early because I want nature all to myself. And so that I can openly talk, openly converse with the field and converse with the universe and converse with the cosmos, that I can openly speak and say what I want to say, because everyone is still sleeping. They're still in their houses and whatever. And I'm out in nature and I'm doing my morning informing of the field. And I really love that part. So, and you know what would be great really is I'm really good. I'm a morning person. So for me to be out in the morning doing that creative nurturing that I love doing, conversing with nature. But the other thing I love doing in the morning is I also love creating and writing. So a lot of times I actually find myself torn. Like, I want to be out in nature, selfishly taking it all in by myself. And then I also want to sit and with my journal and do my writings or creating something, at that time too. So, but nature always wins.
Yeah. It's so therapeutic in so many ways. And guys, I know a lot of times people say, well, I'm just so busy. I'm just so busy. But you go outside, even if you're just walking to the mailbox, even if you're just walking a loop in your backyard, or you don't have a yard and you're just walking down the street, just go 1-2 telephone pole lengths and then come back. You will notice a difference in yourself. You will notice a shift in your energy. You'll notice a difference in how you feel and how invigorating it is just to be outside, even when it's hot, because we are in summer months, even when it's hot, or even when it's cold. I'm one of those people, I like to hibernate in the winter, but when my husband's like, we're going for a walk, even though it's snowing, I'll go like, but I get all my stuff on and I go out, and by the time we get back, I'm like, oh, that felt so good. I'm so glad we did it. So
Rebecca, I have something fun for your audience to see if they want to engage with this fabulous free experience that I created, bringing the world's best leading influencers, which I really do hope that you're already a featured expert in our app. But also we have a new experience, Rebecca, that maybe eventually you'll also want to do it when there's more time or whatever. But basically what it is that it's 7 days a week, 10 minutes a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, up to 4 different sessions per day. So that in the app, the influencers, they are offering free sessions, not sessions, one-on-one sessions, but group sessions. So from stuck to unstoppable, from being your authentic self to working out 10 minutes, whatever it is, tapping into the calmer self, creating your best life now. So these 10 minute sessions are all being offered in our app by all these world experts from around the world that are offering their 10 minutes every day, 7 days a week, 10 minutes a day. It's fabulous. So this is where people can download our app, which if they go to the Play Store or go to the App Store, they can download it at KS Media, MEDIA group, and they can download, and they see that little tree. That's my logo. Download that app, and you're going to see on the home page Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you can choose like you would from a menu, like what do they have on tap today on Mondays? What do they have on Tuesdays? What do they have on Wednesdays? And you're going to see even entrepreneurs that are looking to evolve their business. We have business sessions that are 10 minutes because we figure that, you know, with just 10 minutes a day is all it takes really to start developing healthy habits and really start creating your best life now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys, this app is so wonderful. It's so user friendly. It's so easy to get in and out of, and it's literally in the palm of your hand. So, you know what, Kornelia, I just looked and I can't believe that the time has flown by as fast as it has. I'm so glad you have shared the app in building habits. What, you had one more thing you were going to say? What were you gonna say?
No, I said, I know.
Oh, yeah. But it's been so fantastic having you here today. And I know we don't want to eat up too much of your time. But I always ask everyone before they go, if they hung up today and you just are like, oh, we're done, what is the one thing you would be like, gosh, I wish I had said that? Because there's always something. Everybody always has something.
So I would say that the future of love is now, that the past and the future is all now. We're healing our past. We're bringing the future into now. It's all happening now. So if you're putting things off till tomorrow, you're going to keep putting things off till tomorrow, because tomorrow is now, because the future is nothing more than a continuation of the now.
Yeah. You guys, it's humanity. Our life here is a funny, fickle thing. We are merely a speck of dust on an orb in the middle of something we have no profound knowledge of, but we are all connected, and it is a beautiful place to be. So like she said, do all those things sooner than later. Don't wait. Don't have the bucket list. Start checking them off.
Yeah.
Kornelia, it's been so wonderful having you here. I'm so glad that we were able to have this conversation and to share this with everyone in the community. I thank you so much for all of the light that you share in the world and all of the ways that you're showing up to shift and help and support those who are looking for a better, brighter life and world. Thank you for that. And then thank you everyone for tuning in and sharing this space and being a part of this community. We love you, and we will see you again next week.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And we want to hook you up because you're a loyal podcast listener. So head on over to www.rebeccapackard.com to get a special introductory price when you sign up for an emotion code session. Head on over to our website at www.rebeccapackard.com.